Welcome to the Ben Buzz. I'm Benny King, and what a week 2 of college football we had. And I broke it down with Jack on the channel, but now going into week 3, very, very interesting games start to come up where you look at how USF is all of a sudden on a crazy come up and they're taking on Miami. A few weeks ago, they weren't even in talks for the top 20. Now they're number 18 in the country and probably should be higher. College football, there's a lot of parity this year. And even though the Big Ten is kind of slowly maybe taking control and some SEC teams are falling out, it's becoming more and more even across the board. And it's very, very interesting. And going forward, I mean, it's very exciting. And as we get into these previews, we got Indiana against Indiana State. Now, Indiana, I was a little worried after their game against Old Dominion. I didn't think they were bad or that they shouldn't be ranked or, whatever the case may be. But it's just like they shouldn't have been that close with them. And they responded last week against Kennesaw State and absolutely blew them out. And Indiana State, they've got their own things going on. But this is just, it's not one of those close in-state rivalries. I'm sorry. Indiana's going to win 35-6. Mendoza's really settling in. Kurt Cignetti's a great coach. And Indiana's not losing this one. And they're going to win it very, very comfortably. Now, next we have Wisconsin against Alabama. Now, this game is huge. It's only the third Big Ten against SEC game this year, I believe, with Michigan falling in the last one and Oklahoma taking that for the ACC, and the one before with Ohio State taking out Texas. Now, this one's very interesting. Wisconsin's on the road. Alabama's ranked 19th in the country. We're a lot higher, but then they got really embarrassed by Florida State, but they responded well against Louisiana Monroe, and I don't know why, but I like Wisconsin here. I like the upset, and this would be so huge for the Big Ten and just every other conference outside of the SEC. The SEC would hate for this to happen, but I got Wisconsin 20-17. That Wisconsin defense, I think they're going to get them to play close, and just the fact that not only did Alabama lose to Florida State, not just that they lost, but they absolutely got embarrassed, just blown out. And the points that they did score, like they shouldn't really have been in that game, and they really weren't when you look at the final score. And I don't know. I'm taking Wisconsin here, but that one could go either way. That might be wrong, but I'm taking the upset here. I like Wisconsin on the road. Next, we got number 13 Oklahoma at Temple. Now this one's very interesting. Temple is an interesting team, but Oklahoma, the way that they have impressed so far, and now they've jumped all the way to 13 after that impressive win against Michigan. I can't pick against them here. And Temple, I mean, maybe they play decently, but I can't do it. Oklahoma looks too strong right now. They look too good. They had a great win, and that quarterback John Mateer is really settling in, and Venables certainly seems like a great coach. I got Oklahoma 33-10. Next, we got number 4 Oregon at Northwestern. Now, this is an interesting game with a big noon Saturday going out there, and Oregon's a really good team. And I know they haven't really played anybody yet, but the people that they've absolutely dismantled. Even Oklahoma State, a Power 4 team, absolutely dismantled them 69-3. And Northwestern is one of the only teams in the Big Ten that's lost, and they have not been doing well. So I really do like Oregon, and I know it's on the road, but still, I can't not pick Oregon here. They're one of the best teams in the league. They have certainly a chance to go all the way and win that national title because they really look good. Dante Moore looks good. Everyone they brought in, it's just Dan Lanning's a great coach, and they recruited so well. So I'd be a fool to pick against them. And this might even be lowballing it. I don't know. I don't know how hard they're going to play, but I think Oregon's going to win this 48-9. Next, we got Central Michigan at number 23 Michigan. Interesting in-state game. One of the ones, it's not really a rivalry, similar to Indiana and Indiana State. It's just not going to be too close, but Michigan really needs to respond after that loss. And we've been talking all year about how you can see a team's discipline and really how good they are, how they play directly after a loss. And is Michigan one of those teams? I don't know, because they went on the road at Oklahoma. That's a tough environment for their freshman QB. I get it, but they need to take care of business against Central Michigan. If they're sluggish or if they're struggling against Central Michigan, then it's time to worry, but not yet. No, they're going to win this one, I think, 34-13. If things don't go well, then we can start to really worry about Michigan. But for now, I'm giving them some grace. It was a freshman QB in a road environment, but I take Michigan there. Next, we got South Alabama at number 24, Auburn. Auburn's one of the surprises where they had beaten Baylor and then beaten Ball State, and then Baylor ended up really showing out in double overtime against a ranked SMU team, and that ended up propping Auburn up. And now against South Alabama, this is an interesting one. I think Auburn's going to win. I'm probably really lowballing the score here, 30-16. Auburn might win by a lot more, but I'm not too sold on them. And I think South Alabama is definitely going to look at that number and treat it like a target and really try to take it from them. And I don't know. I think teams play better when they have that chip on their shoulder, and Auburn definitely a team on the outskirts of the top 25 and a team that really slipped in there without too much notion for it. I just don't buy them quite yet, and we're really going to see when they get into their SEC schedule how it really plays out, but I don't think they're going to have trouble today. Then Villanova at Penn State. It's the same thing we've been saying every year. What is Penn State doing? Like, okay, you're going to beat Villanova, Nevada, like that's great, but 3 games in a row, they haven't scheduled one tough opponent, not even a Power 4, so it's like it's embarrassing. And, I mean, Penn State's going to win by a lot, but they're going to go into that game against Oregon so unprepared. So, I mean, Penn State, I got them 48-3, but yikes, Penn State. I don't understand. Just terrible out-of-conference schedule. I mean, there's 3 games in a row. I get if you do 2 of them or if you have, like, an SEC-type schedule. Like, this is just unfortunate, especially when you look at your conference with Michigan scheduling ranked Oklahoma, with Ohio State scheduling the number 1 team in the country at the time, and Texas. Even in Illinois, where they didn't schedule someone super tough, but they scheduled a Duke team with a new head coach that was the defensive coordinator at Penn State, where it's like, even if they aren't scheduling ranked teams, at least they're scheduling Power 4 teams. At least they're scheduling something quality. And this really is just getting embarrassing. And they're going to win. It's like, we know you're going to win. That's great. But, yeah, just disappointed. But, yeah, I got Penn State 48-3. Next, we got Oregon State at number 21, Texas Tech. This one could be interesting. Oregon State, not that great. They kind of got left behind when all the teams fled away from the Pac-12. Looks like they're sticking around. And Texas Tech has been one of the surprises. Now, I know they haven't played a Power 4 team yet, which this will be. Oregon's technically would be in the Pac-12 still. But still, it's a better quality opponent than what they've played so far. And they're really going to get their test next week against Utah. That'll be interesting. But I got Texas Tech here. I think they'll win 34-20. I trust Texas Tech, honestly. They're maybe a little better than what their ranking is, but at the end of the day, the rankings are so tight. So I think Texas Tech is going to win this one comfortably, 34-20. Now, next we got Louisiana at number 25, Missouri. Now, even though I don't fully buy Missouri, they did end up winning a huge rivalry game against Kansas that they were tied in. When you look at the final score, they ended up winning by 11 or something like that, but it was really close, and they ended up having a dagger later on that really sealed it. And Missouri's another one of those SEC teams like Auburn where I don't really buy them, where they kind of snuck into the top 25 without doing too much. It was more just because teams had fallen out, and they just needed to stick somebody at those bottom 2 spots. So I probably should have been Mississippi State with a team that's undefeated and with a great quality win against number 11 Arizona State. But you could hear plenty of that in the episode. Me and Jack did not appreciate the top 25, but I don't think they're going to have troubles against Louisiana. I got them 30-10. Now, next we got number 14 Iowa State, and they're going to Arkansas State. And Iowa State is one of the big surprises. I've been saying it all year that they were my prediction for the Big 12 championship, and they're now ranked atop of the Big 12, where if you look at their teams, no one is ranked higher than them. It was Arizona State. They lose last week. Iowa State ends up filling that role. They're sitting at 14. They had a great win against Kansas State, at least it was, for a week or so, and then Kansas State is really just falling off the wagon. They've lost only once to Army, but nearly lost to an FCS school. Had to put up 38 points just to win it. Where it's like, oh, was that not that much of a quality win, or did Iowa State really just break them? I don't know, but they had an impressive win against their in-state rival against Iowa. That was a very, very successful win for them, and they ended up winning by a field goal in that one. Huge for them to stay undefeated as their schedule gets a lot easier. So, yeah, they're winning today. I got them 45-6. Rocco Becht, Campbell is a great head coach. Dominique Orange on the D-line is a big story for them. Dominique Orange is fantastic. So Iowa State will have no problems today, and they're going to blow out Arkansas State. Now, next we got Ohio at number 1 Ohio State. And it's another in-state game that's not really close. Julian Sayin looked a lot better last week against a team that, it wasn't Texas's defense. It wasn't that dominant of a team. And Ohio State, yeah, they're going to win this one comfortably as well. Another sound home victory, which they've been home 3 straight. So, but this one's not going to be an issue. I got Ohio State 41-6, and Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Like, I think Julian Saint is good, but, like, the weapons are so great where it's like he doesn't need to be great. He just needs to be fine, and I think he can certainly do that, and he certainly did that against Texas, and I think Ohio State's really going to be scary going forward, but I have Ohio State in that one. Next, we had the other team in that first game, Texas. Texas has certainly done better since playing Ohio State. They're going to have UTEP at home, and Texas just dominated San Jose State. A better change of pace. They needed Arch at home, get comfortable against a lesser opponent, and they did, and they're going to have another chance this week, and they're going to win by a lot again. It's going to be 40-9, and I think Arch can be good. We just need to give him time, and this week is certainly going to be a good example of that. I got Texas here. Next, we got Arkansas at number 17, Ole Miss. Now, this one's pretty interesting with it being an SEC game, and I think Ole Miss is really going to learn from the mistakes of last week where they went on the road against an unranked SEC team and almost came away with, almost lost, which would have been a huge upset for Kentucky, but they're not going to mess around this time. They're at home with what just happened. They're going to have a great reaction, and they're not going to let Arkansas do what Kentucky did to them. So I got Ole Miss 37-21, and I really do trust Lane Kiffin. And I know I picked against him last week with Kentucky, but I was almost there because Kentucky did come close. But they're going to go back to the drawing board, and they're going to say, hey, we can't let that happen again. And they're going to win at home against Arkansas. Next, we got Western Michigan at number 9, Illinois. And Illinois looked great. And I know their schedule's not difficult, but they had scheduled Duke last week. And it was a very interesting game due to Duke's head coach, Manny Diaz, having a history of putting Illinois' QB in difficult spots in his past with Penn State. But Illinois ended up doing pretty good. I know the score makes it look like they blew them out, but it was a lot closer. But Illinois ended up finding a way to win. They were the better team, and I think that's definitely going to happen this week and throughout the year. I don't know if they're top 10. I do think they're great, and I think they're definitely going to benefit from a lacking schedule. But, I don't know. I think they're definitely a good team, though, and Luke Altmaier is looking better every week. And I think they're going to have no problems here. Western Michigan at home, that's no problem there. I think Illinois is going to win 41-13. Next, we got Florida at number 3, LSU. This is an interesting one. Florida, of course, had the loss to South Florida a few weeks ago, or, just last week. And LSU is a very solid team, and they didn't look that great against Louisiana Monroe, but they're going to go back to the drawing board. That's definitely going to really help them improve of, being in that type of game and be like, we got to take these things more seriously, and I think they're definitely going to use that against Florida. That was a great learning experience for LSU, and it's great when you have a learning experience like that and it doesn't come off of a loss. Because as they say, ugly wins are better than pretty losses, and that was definitely true for LSU, where even if they had a kind of an ugly win last week against Louisiana Monroe, a win is a win, and they're definitely going to learn and build from it. And I think Florida is just not ready for this, and they lost last week. And I think we opened the door too quick on Florida. We need to slow it down a little bit. Their schedule was always going to be so ridiculous, but it was a really tough loss last week, and I don't think they're going to win this week, especially now they're on the road. They lost at home to South Florida, but I got LSU 17-13. Next, we got Vanderbilt and number 11, South Carolina. Now, this is a really interesting one, and I'm leaning towards South Carolina, but Vanderbilt, they ended up getting some votes. They didn't end up getting ranked in the top 25, but this could be a trap game for South Carolina. So I think it's possible, but I mean, South Carolina, they haven't played that good quite yet, but I don't think this is one of the games that they're going to lose. I think South Carolina is going to take care of business 30-20 at home. Next, we got number 20, Utah at Wyoming. Now, this one's pretty interesting. Utah just seems to keep getting better and better every week. And the fact that they weren't ranked in the first week still confuses me. But they've been climbing in the rankings justifiably. And they're really not going to have any problems this week. Kyle Whittingham's a great coach. And Utah's looking scary. And in the Big 12 that just dropped out of their winner, Arizona State, kind of dropped out. We'll see how they do in terms of in-conference records. But all of a sudden, Utah, Texas Tech, Iowa State, this conference, it's getting really competitive, especially at the top end. And BYU's still lurking as well. So I got Utah here 48-10, and I'm really liking what they're doing in Utah. And I think that they can definitely have a great season. All right, so next I'm going to be talking about the highly anticipated ranked matchups. So we have number 6 Georgia at number 15 Tennessee. This is a very interesting game. College game day is going to be there. Huge showdown in the SEC, and both teams haven't had big tests yet this year, so this is huge. And, I mean, Georgia, Gunnar Stockton, they've looked great so far, but they haven't really played anybody. This is, of course, their real first test, and they're going on the road. Stockton is still pretty inexperienced. He played some games toward the tail end last year after Carson Beck got injured, but, yeah, I don't know. I think Georgia's a little unprepared here, but going on the road at number 15, Tennessee, number 15, they're not really they were number 24 a few weeks ago, and then this past week they jumped up 7 spots for virtually no reason other than beating an East Texas A&M team that wasn't good, obviously. There wasn't much justifying the sudden jump. So maybe this game looked pretty close with Georgia being number 6 and Tennessee being number 15, but the gap's a little wider than it appears on the surface. And though I think it could be close, especially with Tennessee at home, I got to go Georgia on the road 22-17. Then next we got number 16 Texas A&M at number 8 Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame struggled in week 1 against Miami, and it took them a while to figure it out. C.J. Carr ended up looking pretty good, especially in the second half, and the way he was really starting to figure it out. He ran for a score, he threw for a score, he was doing great. And honestly, Notre Dame has a really great running back core, especially Jeremiah Love, and who really didn't get to be as effective in game 1 because he really didn't get the ball too much. And also they were probably prioritizing him, and Carr wasn't playing that great, so then Miami's defense was kind of able to figure them out. But going into this one, Carr's had that experience in game 1, and the fact that they were able to figure it out and the way he was able to come back and really lead the team in the second half bodes a lot of confidence for me in this Notre Dame team. And if they can get Jeremiah Love more touches, if C.J. Carr can get it going earlier, like we saw in the second half, that'll be huge. And they are at home. So even though I do like Mike Elko, Texas A&M's coach, where he came from Duke a few years ago, but I don't like them here. And they're on the road, and I haven't been that positive about Texas A&M all year. I don't know. And Notre Dame has something to prove, and they're coming off a bye week, and that Miami loss has not left their minds. I just think this really is a tough matchup for Texas A&M, and this is a huge rivalry. They played last year as well, and Notre Dame won it as well. I take Notre Dame here 27-20, but I wouldn't be surprised seeing Texas A&M do it. It's just that I think Notre Dame's the better team, and they're hungry after that loss. And they're home. I just think they're the better team. And last but not least, we have a game that's certainly the game of the week in my eyes. We got number 18 South Florida going on the road at number 5 Miami. Now this game is huge. South Florida is the only team in college football that has 2 ranked wins. And obviously we're just going into week 3 now, so that's impressive. And they're scheduling, they really did a great out-of-conference schedule. They scheduled number 25 Boise State, blew them out, and then they scheduled number 13 Florida and won at the last second with a field goal. Now, obviously, their schedule in the American gets a lot easier after this tough stretch, but so far, challenge after challenge, Boise State blew them out. Florida edged out a win there. And this is definitely the toughest part of their schedule, where now you look at the 12-team playoff, and a team that wins their conference from a group of 6 or a group of 5 will make the playoffs. So you start looking at South Florida, and you're like, man, not only have they done really well in their out-of-conference play, but now they have that ranking next to their team, and then you start looking at the rest of their schedule, and all of a sudden, if they were to win this game and get out of this really tough 3-game stretch undefeated, I think you can say they're probably a 12-0 team, maybe 13-0 with the conference championship. So South Florida looks really good. And, I mean, Brown, their quarterback, I mean, he might be the best quarterback in college football right now just in terms of play. And maybe you don't say in terms of, draft picks when you talk about next year, but his draft stock is certainly going up week after week. I mean, no one's beating who he's beating so far. And especially a team that wasn't supposed to do great. And I know they've been hungry, and they gave Alabama a tough time a few years ago. But South Florida, they weren't even ranked. They weren't in discussions for being ranked. And then after they blew out Boise State, still weren't. And then after they beat Florida on the road, now they're finally ranked 18th, which, in my opinion, is still a little low. A team that's the hottest team in the league, only team with ranked wins. And I know, let's break it down for a sec. Because on the road at number 25, Boise State, right? Boise State was kind of only ranked because Ashton Genty last year, and they were a playoff team. So just out of respect, that happens sometimes. Like a few years ago when TCU was number 17 because they were in the national championship the year prior. And obviously they weren't great that year and ended up getting embarrassed a lot and obviously wasn't ranked very quickly. But just out of respect, sometimes that ranking happens, which is kind of why they were ranked. So I can understand why you wouldn't give South Florida credit for that one, because you're like, well, that's not that great of a team, right? But Boise State had the same quarterback and the same coach as last year, and I know that it wasn't the same without Genty, but Boise State has won the Mountain West a lot. So that's still a tough team to play, and they blew them out. I think that's the biggest thing here. It's not like they barely won. They blew the doors off of Boise State. So even if you think it's not impressive or it hardly counts as a ranked win just by technicality, because obviously Boise State's not great, but the fact that they beat them so soundly really resembles a great team to me. Then you look at week 2, and they go on the road at Florida. And Florida was really supposed to be a great team this year. Billy Napier, DJ Lagway, was really supposed to come together this year. And then you look at their schedule, and it was really, really tough. And I know they hadn't played anybody until that game last week, but it looked like they were going through like an insane SEC gauntlet, and we didn't know how they were going to do. But turns out they lost before they even got to it to South Florida. And, I mean, South Florida, that was just so impressive, and they came in with so much confidence off of that Boise State win, and on the road in the Swamp is such a tough place to play, and they went in there and did it. Like, South Florida, it's huge for them, and I think it's really unfortunate that College Game Day is not at this game, because South Florida, Miami, like, South Florida, this is probably their only chance to get College Game Day, because you look at the rest of their schedule, and it's not great. There's not any huge games. This is huge. This is a huge Week 3 matchup. And I feel like it's way bigger than Georgia, Tennessee. I'm sorry, I think it is. Not only is Miami the highest ranked of the two matchups, but they didn't have College Game Day in their Week 1 game against Notre Dame. Fine. You know, I get Lee Corso. He's known for picking Ohio State. I get it's number 1 versus number 3. So I'm not saying they should have been there when Miami played Notre Dame. But why not pay that back a few weeks later when Miami's playing the hottest team in the league? That's won 2 ranked games. No one else has done that. No one else has won 2 ranked games. So it's disappointing. And you got a contest between, like, 2 of the better quarterbacks in this league, in, like, this realm of play, in Brown and Beck, where it's like, this is a huge showdown. It's like Georgia and Tennessee are going to have games later in the season that warrant College Game Day, especially Georgia, where it's like, and they've been to those places so many times over the past few years where it's like, man, like, why not have a great chance to have this return of Miami, their number 5, and then South Florida, where they haven't really been at this level since, 2007, where they were ranked number 2 in the poll, something like that. And this is a great way to pay that off. And just, it really is a great matchup and an in-state game where it's like, this is the most exciting. This is what I'm looking forward to the most. And it's unfortunate that College Game Day is not really recognizing that. And I do think that the AP poll is definitely not being kind to South Florida. And they're not really recognizing just, like, the gravity of what they've done. I mean, you look at number 18, but then you look at their resume, a blowout win against number 25 Boise State, and then a win on the road in one of the tougher places to play at Florida. Like, and I know it was close, but Florida was ranked 13th in the country. So it's like no one's been tested like that multiple times this year, I'd say. Because, like, Ohio State had that great win against Texas, fine. The game we're talking about right here, Miami, had that great prove-it win against Notre Dame. LSU had that great win against Clemson. So it's like there's a lot of teams ahead of South Florida that haven't really had that challenge and maybe have looked worse against lesser opponents. But South Florida has played 2 ranked teams in a row. Now it will be 3. So we'll see how that if they can continue that streak and keep winning these games. But, like, the fact that they've won up to this point, and I know Boise State, it wasn't that great, but they blew them out. And I know now they're unranked, but Florida was ranked 13th. And they went in there on the road and won. And we talk about it all the time, you know, and the SEC talks how tough it is to win on the road in the SEC. South Florida did that. They went on the road at Florida and won. So I think it's really ridiculous that they're not getting the kind of respect. And me and Jack had really touched on this before, but whoever loses this game is going to get disrespected so much. Where Miami is going to, like, because they have them at 18. You have a team like Tennessee at 15. What has Tennessee done? What have they done? And you look at this game, if Miami loses, they're going to disrespect them so much, they're going to slide behind Texas probably. They're going to slide maybe out of the top 10 when they really shouldn't, because this is a great South Florida team that isn't getting the respect they deserve with their ranking. So, honestly, it's disrespectful. And then think about South Florida. If they were to lose this game, they're just going to discredit those 2 wins and probably leave them unranked. That's what's concerning about this one. That's what's concerning. And both teams are really great. That's what sucks about this. And I feel like either team really is just going to get disrespected. It really is a win. I mean, every game's a win-lose, but like either team where it's like at least Ohio State and Texas, it's like, yeah, we're not going to penalize Texas too much. They did fall down to 7, but they still kept them in the top 10, where it's like this is kind of a similar scenario where it's like I feel like they're just going to move South Florida out of the top 25 entirely. If Miami loses, they're just going to move them outside of the top 10 entirely, despite what they've done all year. And I think that's disgusting, because you look at some of the other teams that have lost those types of matchups, and that's the thing, is that this matchup isn't being treated the same way. That's what I'm worried about, and that it's not being respected the same. And you look at, I mean, it's South Florida shouldn't be ranked 18th. They should be ranked higher. No one has the type of resume that they have. And I know you can say Ohio State or LSU or Miami have better quality wins, but South Florida's done it multiple times, and they did it on the road against Florida. And I think the only game that's like more impressive than that one, in terms of road games for sure, is LSU going on the road at Clemson and winning like that. But at the end of the day, I think this does help South Florida. I think it's going to give them a great chip on their shoulder, and they've been disrespected all year, and they're starting to get a little bit more of that respect as the weeks go on. But I think that does give them a big chip on their shoulder, and I think Miami should really be upset that they're doing that, because this is a team kind of like Oregon, where you don't want to give them any more ammunition. You don't want to get them any more firepower than they already have. But at the end of the day, Miami's probably the better team, and they're at home. So I got to go, well, actually, one game, one chance, where the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. You better hit it. I want South Florida. South Florida, 23-21. I got them there. Maybe that's a dumb pick, but I don't care. I'm going South Florida. This is definitely a game that I'm most excited about, though. I'm really excited for South Florida and Miami. More excited than any other game outside of maybe Iowa, because I am biased. But really excited for this game, and I think it's really going to be a great way to really propel Week 3 into being one of the best weeks, where I think Week 1 is still the best at this point, although Week 2 we had a lot of interesting matchups, and of course South Florida's incredible upset on the road. But I think this is definitely going to be a really solid week of ranked games. All right, and now I'm going to switch it up for a second and introduce a brand new segment. That's right, the Ben Buzz presents The Buzzsaw. Now, this is the first edition of it, technically, at least with the name. We had done it last week a little bit, where I just run through a bunch of games of unranked teams and just pick them off of raw saw instincts. So that's what we're going to be doing this week, and I'm going to try to get a lot of them right. I got a really good deal of them right, so let's see how the saw does this week, and then we'll report how well the saw did each week. All right, now Houston Christian at Nebraska. I got to go Nebraska there. Tosin at Maryland. I'm going Maryland. We got William and Mary at Virginia. I got to go Virginia here. Sanford at Baylor. Baylor looks actually pretty good. I got Baylor here. I really like Baylor. And Memphis at Troy. Troy, yeah, I got to go Troy. They look decent against Clemson. I think they're going to win this week. Buffalo at Kent State. Give me Buffalo. Once again, I was born there. I have to. I say that every time I pick them. New Hampshire at Ball State. Give me New Hampshire. You know what? Give me New Hampshire. UConn at Delaware. I'm going UConn. Let's see here. I'm taking USC on the road at Purdue. Norfolk State at Rutgers. I got to go Rutgers there. Youngstown State at Michigan State. Yeah, it's Michigan State all day. Washington State at North Texas. I'm going Wazoo. I'm going with the Cougars there. SMU at Missouri State. This is a great get-back win for SMU. I got to go with them. I think they're going to respond after getting beaten by Baylor last week. Pittsburgh at Virginia. Yeah, let's go Pittsburgh. Richmond at North Carolina. I can't pick Richmond after they beat Iowa in March Madness a few years ago. I every time I see that spider logo, I'm remembering that haunted memory of losing right away in March Madness after we won the Big Ten. I can't. I'm going North Carolina. Northwestern State at Cincinnati. I'm going with Cincy. Incarnate Ward against UTSA. Yeah, I got to go UTSA. I don't know what Incarnate Ward is. Morgan State at Toledo. Let's go Toledo. Then I'm going to go Liberty over Bowling Green. And then Middle Tennessee at Nevada. Give me Nevada. Alcorn State at Mississippi State. Mississippi State should be ranked. I'm going Mississippi State. And then Florida Atlantic at Florida International. In honor of them making March Madness Final Four a couple of years ago, give me Florida Atlantic. Merrimack at Kennesaw State. Merrimack, that sounds pretty cool. Eastern Kentucky at Marshall. Yeah, give me Eastern Kentucky. Monmouth at Charlotte. I like Charlotte there. And then I'm going to go Old Dominion on the road at Virginia Tech. I like them. They did decently well against Indiana. Jacksonville State at Georgia Southern. Give me Jacksonville State. Murray State at Georgia State. You know what? Murray State always breaks my bracket because they're always ranked so high in March Madness and then always lose for no reason. Give me Georgia State. App State at Southern Miss. I like Southern State. Southern Miss. I think they're going to get a good week this week, especially with all the things they brought from Marshall. Prairie View A&M at Rice. Prairie View. I'm going Rice. I think they're going to win that one. Don't ask me why though. Eastern Michigan at Kentucky. Yeah, it's just they're showing up to get killed. Unfortunately, I'm going Kentucky. And then we got New Mexico State at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech did decent against LSU. Give me them. Louisiana Tech, East Carolina, Coastal Carolina. You know what? In honor of their teal field, I think that's so cool. Give me Coastal Carolina. And then we got Duke at Tulane. Yeah, I don't know. No, I have to think fast. I got Tulane. Abilene Christian at Texas Christian University and TCU. You know what? It's a battle of the Christians, and I think TCU's coming out of it at home. Navy at Tulsa. I got Tulsa. Akron at UAB. I got to go UAB there. And then Air Force at Utah State. Utah State did decent against Texas A&M. I'm going Utah State. Then Southern at Fresno State. Fresno State. Minnesota at California. I got to ride with the Big Ten. Minnesota had 60 points at halftime in a game last week. Give me Minnesota. Then we got Boston College at Stanford. Now, Stanford with Andrew Luck and Frank Reich, I know what they're trying to do there, but Boston College, after losing in double overtime, or maybe it was single overtime, but a crazy game to Michigan State, I think they're going to get back on track this week, and they're going to beat Stanford on the road. I got Boston College. And Texas State at Arizona State. Oh, Arizona State needs to get back, and I think they will. Portland State at Hawaii. Let's go Hawaii. The Rainbow Warriors. Once again, don't ask me why, but I'm going with Hawaii. Let's see how this saw does this week. I'm very excited. I felt pretty good about a lot of these rankings, a lot of these picks. And we're going to do a report next week and see how the saw does. But I'm very optimistic. I think I got all of them. So, I guess we'll see how the saw did. But I think it did great. And, yeah, let me know in the comments if you want to see more of the buzzsaw. I was trying to do be more innovative with the channel. And this was a fun thing that I wanted to do, especially with how many college football games there are week to week. So it's just something fun that I was thinking of doing. And if you want to see more of this, let me know. And even if no one comments, I'll probably still do more of it because I have a lot of fun doing that. It's surprisingly amount of fun. And it's so funny to run through just all of those games, and it's just a lot. I go through them so much faster than the rest of the games, but that's the whole point. It's raw saw instincts. Yes, I did come up with that in 2 seconds. It's a pretty clever rhyme. I thought so. That was pretty fun, and I'll try to do that week to week. Now, for this last segment was something we kind of touched on in the reactions video with Jack, where we were both very against what the committee and the AP poll had decided for the rankings. And so we said, hey, we might have to just do our own. So I'm going to try to do one week to week of just what I think is correct. And we'll see how this shakes up. But for now, this is what I have. I agree with most of the teams that the AP poll had, 23 out of 25 to be exact. I just disagreed with 24 and 25. But, I had Ohio State at 1. I think that's the correct choice and a huge win over Texas. I think they deserve that spot. And the reigning national champions, they deserve it. And LSU with the most impressive win in college football on the road against Clemson. That's huge. And then number 3, Oregon. They haven't had a test yet, but the way they've been dismantling teams, I'm very optimistic they'll take out this next team in Penn State. I honestly think Penn State's ranked too high, and I thought it was really disrespectful at the start of the year when they were ranked ahead of Ohio State. I know that they had a lot of players coming back, and Ohio State was fielding a lot of new ones, but I just don't buy it, and especially when Penn State plays teams that are on their same talent level. I just don't buy it, and that's why I slide them down. But I do have them sitting there at 4, and then Miami's still at 5 for me. I like Carson Beck, and then Georgia at 6. I think that makes sense to me. And a lot of this was the same with Texas 7, Notre Dame 8, Illinois 9, Florida State 10. And then this is where I kind of disagreed a little bit, where they had South Carolina at that 11 spot, and I just disagreed. They haven't done anything to prove it, really, and that was kind of an ugly game against Virginia Tech, and Oklahoma has really proved it. And going against Michigan, who is still ranked, by the way, and having that real good test. And the game felt like it was never out of hand, like they had control. I know they weren't winning by that much, but they did have control of that game. And I think OU sets there. And that's where I think Iowa State lands as well, right next to them. Listen, we can't keep putting Clemson that high. I think we have to knock them down a little bit after that embarrassing performance against Troy, and then losing on at home against LSU while you were leading at halftime. Like, I'm sorry, where I think Iowa State's been so impressive, and I know they beat Kansas State, which is looking less and less impressive week to week. But that Iowa game was huge, and they blew out a team, only 3-0 team in the poll. I know they played in week 0, but still. And that team is really looking good, and certainly the top team in the Big 12. It's kind of theirs to lose. We'll see how it goes for them down the road. And then, yeah, that's where I have Clemson at 13, and then South Carolina 14. And that's where I think South Florida lands. I really could have put them higher if we're just talking in general, but I feel like that's probably about where they land. Compared to Ole Miss, which is the team that nearly lost on the road against an unranked Kentucky team, and then Texas A&M hasn't done anything. I think that's where South Florida really lands for me. And I know the committee disagrees, and they had them a few spots lower, but I think I could have even put them higher. But I think I understand that that's probably about where they are. But I mean, that was a big win against Florida. That's kind of not getting as much respect because Florida's nowhere to be seen on this list. But I think it's not just a credit to, Florida's actually just bad. No, this team's just good. South Florida's just good. And you heard in my prediction, I really do like South Florida. They're a great team. And they'll probably be in the playoffs as that team from a group of 5. And then I had Ole Miss, Texas A&M there, and then Utah's really great. And we'll really see when Utah and Texas Tech play. That'll be huge. But that's where they land for me. Alabama was the same. I don't know. I could have put them lower, but I don't know. I honestly could have, but that's where they kind of landed for me. And then that's where Tennessee should be, I think. They started 24 in the league, and then they went to 22. And then just really, there wasn't enough teams that lost that would warrant jumping 7 spots. I think that's the biggest gripe for me. I don't get it. And I know they beat East Texas A&M, but they were struggling against a Syracuse team, and I know Syracuse won. And then not to say they struggled, but they didn't Syracuse started to put up decent points, especially in the second half. And then Syracuse won in the second week, but barely. Like Syracuse, I don't know how much stock you put in that win. But then it's like, okay, maybe you still rank them and maybe you slightly push them up, which is what I kind of did. But it doesn't account for the sudden jump. It feels like it's just in preparation to play Georgia, where it's like, really doesn't make sense to me. That's where they land. And then Indiana's right after. And then Texas Tech, and then Michigan there. And then Mississippi State. This is really the one where they should be, because they had the huge win against Arizona State. And they did play them at home, but that was huge. And then instead of ranking Mississippi State, who's an SEC team, the committee throws in Auburn and Missouri, also SEC teams that haven't done anything, almost using that as an excuse to slip those teams in. It's like, wait a minute. No, you're just hurting your own conference, or you're doing it to benefit other teams in your conference, because Mississippi State was the one that got that huge win against the number 11 team. Look where South Florida is after beating the number 3 team on the road. So it's like, where is Mississippi State in the rankings? And in the coaches poll, I believe they were ranked, but in the regular poll, they weren't there. And I think that's surprising. And not to say that Auburn and Missouri are bad, but like Mississippi State was the one that had the impressive win. That's what doesn't make sense here. And that's why I think they are ranked here. And then that's where Arizona State falls for me. They could easily be unranked. I get it. But maybe we should start pumping the brakes off of any team losing. And instead of being like, oh, I guess that team was just bad, maybe we just say, you know what, that team was good. And that's what they do with Alabama. They said, you know what, Florida State was just good. And look where Florida State's sitting in both rankings at 10. And then Alabama, they're like, yeah, even though Alabama's certainly getting a lot of crap for that game, but they're still ranked, and they didn't fall out of it. And I think that's a big thing where it's like, we need to stop doing this with teams where we're just like, especially if it's an SEC team, where it's like, if they lose, it's like, yeah, well, the other team was just good. But then it's like, if another team has a similar loss in Arizona State, yeah, they're just bad. And then, yeah, Mississippi State's just bad, which is really random. I don't understand why Auburn and Missouri took those last 2 spots, especially when you have a team like Mississippi State that's the one that got the win that made it even possible to slip those teams in. So that's how my top 25 shakes out. And it's going to be really interesting when we get my number 15 against the number 5 in South Florida and Miami, and then my number 6 and 20 in Georgia and Tennessee, and then number 17 and 8 Texas A&M and Notre Dame. It's going to be very interesting, and I'll see how this shakes up next week, and especially those ranked matchups are going to be huge in determining the outcome and the changes in my top 25. Now, all that said, this is certainly looking to be a great week of college football. We got 3 ranked matchups and a lot of really, really exciting games where you have South Florida and Miami, an in-state game, Georgia and Tennessee, an in-conference game, Texas A&M and Notre Dame, a big rivalry game. So this week of college football is definitely going to be really huge, and I'm really expecting a lot of upsets. So we're really going to be seeing, I think, a lot more parity, where you have a Georgia Tech maybe upsetting Clemson. South Florida, I talked about, maybe Miami, and then, maybe Wisconsin upsetting a team like Alabama. So this week is going to be really interesting. Definitely going to set the tone for the year, as it kind of has so far. But this week is so huge. And it feels like every single ranked matchup has so much weight and gravity to it, where it felt like in week 1 it was kind of like, yeah, this is going to be great to jumpstart the year, but these ones, it really is so huge. And like teams like Miami and especially South Florida, that game is so huge. Georgia and Tennessee, the way the SEC is going to shake out, all of those close wins in conference are going to be so huge. And then, as we said, a rivalry game as well. This week is really going to be great. And I'm really excited for college football as it continues to go on. And it's definitely not going to stop this week. I'm very, very excited for what college football has to come. And it continues to be great. And I appreciate that it is so. And I'm really happy that college football is here. And it really is in full swing. Where I felt like week 1, where there was a little sloppiness and some upsets, where week 2 we started to figure it out more, but week 3, this is the week. I haven't been more excited for a week yet. This is going to be great, and it's definitely in terms of the ranked games, but just really across the board. We've got so many interesting matchups, and I really am excited for the future of college football, and I can't hardly wait for the games later today. This is the Ben Buzz, starring Benny King. Thanks for tuning in.